All right. So, hi once again, and a warm welcome to all our attendees today. We are super stoked to have such a favorable response from all you guys. So, thank you so much, people. I'll just quickly introduce our team and we can then start rolling. I'm Neha. I'm the product marketing manager at Intermocha and your host for today. We have Vishal, who heads our engineering team and is responsible for all the awesome features that we roll out. Last but not the least, Sagar. So Sagar is our customer success manager and the one who would be guiding us on remote hiring. So without wasting any more time, over to you, Sagar.
Hey, thank you so much, Neha, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are having a good time. So, to start with, I'm sure that you guys know my name now. So, I'm Sagar. I've been working with Interview Mocha since last 19 months as a customer success professional, and it's been a great experience, engaging and interacting with personas like recruiters, hiring managers who are part of the recruitment industry. So far, it has been a good experience. So let's move on. So before I start with today's session, I'll quickly give you a brief of what is Interview Mocha all about. So Interview Mocha is world's largest skill assessment API platform. So when I say largest skill assessment, so currently we have like 2000 plus ready skills available onto our platform. And when I say API platform, so we have like first class integrations with applicant tracking systems, learning management systems, also with a couple of job boards, so that we actually help these players in the skill assessment or to streamline the complete skill assessment process. So to start with today's session, let me set the agenda first. So, I'll be speaking about how to hire talent remotely. So,
Sagar,
yep,
Sagar, can you be a bit more louder?
yep, sure, no
Yeah,
problem.
thanks, thanks.
So I'll be speaking about how to hire talent remotely because that is the basic agenda of today's session. Also, a couple of efficient ways to leverage Mocha platform features into your hiring process. And then following that, I'll be giving a quick product demo of the platform. After that, we'll be discussing a couple of new features which we have recently launched. And then later on, we'll be having a great, I can say, a quick live Q&A session for you guys, okay, where I'll be answering all your queries and addressing them. So I'm pretty aware that everyone right now in these difficult times, everyone is working from home. Actually, the whole world is working from home. And when it comes to remote workplace, so when it comes to teams like marketing or sales teams, they have their own tools to manage their work or to have a team collaboration process altogether. Okay, so they have their own CRMs. So when it comes to engineering teams, they have their own tools to do the same kind of stuff, their works, their collaborations and all that. Again, the same with customer success people, we have our own tools to do that. But when it comes to recruitment teams, talent acquisition team, again, it is a big challenge, like how to collaborate with the hiring managers, how recruiters are going to collaborate with the candidates, and it's a complete mess. But when it comes to remote hiring, there are a couple of process. So if you can see on the screen, this is the basic one. So I'm pretty sure that for each and every organization the use case may differ, but a basic process for remote hiring, this is going to be the same. That is, you can have an assessment created for a job role initially, have that assessment reviewed by the hiring managers or someone who has technical capabilities. Once that is done, you can just move ahead and start inviting candidates on these assessments. Once the assessments are done, like the appearance from the candidates, the candidate reports will be generated stating the scores, the skill proficiency of the candidate. And based on these reports, you can then move ahead with the shortlisting process. And once this is done, swiftly you can move ahead, shortlist the candidates, and then proceed with your interviews. Okay, so this is going to be the basic process when it comes to remote hiring. Again, so when I say remote hiring, the remote assessment platform is the major part of this complete process, okay? Or I can say an important part of this. But again, the question is, how valid are these assessments? Okay. So again, when it comes to remote appearance of the candidates, there are again challenge if the report is going to be valid, if it is the same candidate who is appearing for the assessment and the same candidate is going to come for the interview, or is it just a proxy? But again, we have a couple of cheating prevention features onto our platform. So the first I would say is an window lock feature, where we don't allow the candidates to move out of the test platform or switch the windows while the assessment is going on. And even if there are some instances where candidates move out of the test platform or try to switch the windows, in those cases or those instances are captured as window violation and time violation. So this data will be completely available onto the candidate report. And the next would be remote proctoring feature, where you can actually set up a proctoring enabled assessment, track down the images of the candidates. Also, you can have a complete video and audio of the candidate's environment, where you can actually check what were the activities done by the candidate. Is it the same candidate who is appearing for the assessment, or there are multiple faces detected, and all that sort of data. So it will be completely available onto the platform itself. Again, so this is one way video interview feature of our platform. So I guess when it comes to remote hiring, I'm pretty sure that recruiters who are attending this session, so the telephonic interview rounds are the mandate ones, where you actually call up a candidate, you have your structured questions for them, and then you track down their responses. But again, you don't have to actually go ahead and call each and every candidate. You can just set up these static questions onto the test itself, onto the interview mocha platform, and then you can include this one-way video interview feature onto the assessment itself. So what will happen is they get to see the questions on the test platform, and then they are going to record their own video, which can be of 1 minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes of duration, and they can just upload it over. Once that is done, or the assessment is done, you can check this video onto the platform. So where you are going to eliminate your telephonic rounds, and which would be the part of your assessment process only. So again, this would be an useful addition to your remote hiring process. Again, once the assessment part is done, that every candidate or the pool of candidate is done with the assessments, then what next? What next would be the candidate report you can see. Okay, so on the right hand side of the screen, you can see there is a candidate report which states the skill proficiency of a candidate, like in which category this particular candidate falls in. And just below that, you can see the section score analysis of the candidate. So for each and every section onto the assessment, you get to see like what is the proficiency level of the candidate. Okay, so not only this much, but again, for the assessment report, you also get to see the question level analytics, like each and every question which is being appeared by the candidate. You also get to see the code replay in terms of coding simulations. Also, you get to see the proctoring details, like all the images which are captured in case of proctored assessment, or a complete video of the candidate's environment. Also, so this up till now, it was all about the recruiters or the features which would be useful for recruiters. But when it comes to recruitment managers or hiring managers, we also have a Swift dashboard onto our platform, where you can actually check what all activities are going on to your complete platform, how your recruitment team or recruiters team is working, how efficiently they are inviting candidates, and how the assessments are working. You can also track down the candidate feedbacks, the usage analytics, and everything. So the complete reporting part for the managers or the recruitment managers, this dashboard is going to be a lot of help. So now upon this, I'll just quickly move on to my Interview Mocha account and quickly give you a short demo. Like basically, I'll be starting with creating an assessment, and then I'll just show you how you're going to invite candidates on these assessments, check their reports, and how you can efficiently leverage all the features onto the platform into your remote hiring process. I'm sure you guys are able to see my Mocha account screen. Okay, so before I start with the product demo, if you guys have any sort of questions for me when the product demo is going on, you can just raise your hands or type in your questions onto the chat box down there, so that when the actual live Q&A session is going on, I'll be happy to address your queries there. So on the screen, you can see this is the My Test window where you actually get to see all the test cards that which are already created in my account. Okay, but again, to begin with the process, initially you need to create an assessment. So to do that, we'll have to move on, click on create new test button, and name your assessment. So suppose I do it as a Java developer test. So once this is done, the structure of an assessment is created. Now the next part would be adding skills to your assessment. So when it comes to Java developer assessment, I'm pretty sure that you'll be adding a couple of core Java concepts, a couple of framework based questions, that is Spring MVC or Spring, and then a coding simulation question. And also for recruiters, you guys can add up a video interview question for your reference. So to do that, I click on add skill. So here you can see basically there are two skill libraries. One is interview mocha skill library, which consists of 2000 plus ready skills available. Next is my questions. So here you can add your own questions onto the platform and then use those questions into your assessments. So to begin with, I click on interview mocha. I select the question type. So here you can see basically there are 5 question types. One is multiple choice questions. So this is a general category. Next is coding, that is for coding simulations. For databases, we have SQL Server. For pseudocoding platform, that is we have Logicbox, where a candidate does not have to write the complete code for it. They just need to fill up a couple of missing syntaxes, or you can say statements, onto the code snippet. And the last would be a video interview question. Also, the best part is you can include all these 5 types of questions onto a single assessment. So I start with general category, that is multiple choice question, and I click on select skill. So as this assessment is for Java, I type in for Java. So I get this particular skill library. I select this one and I click on select questions. So once I move to the skill library for selecting questions, here on this screen, you can actually check all the questions which are readily available. Okay. Now the next part would be selecting these questions onto the assessment. So basically there are 2 processes. One is automated selection, where a system will pick up a couple of random questions for you. Next is a manual selection, where you have to specify which questions you want the candidates to appear in. Okay. So I select automated selection, and on the right hand side, you can see there is a bucket of questions, that is easy category questions, medium and hard. Suppose I select 4 of easy category, 2 of medium, and 1 of hard level category. So what will happen is, into an candidate assessment, system will randomly pick 4 questions from easy category out of these 175 questions, and same with medium and hard. Okay. Once this is done, the time, you set the time for this particular section, and then I click on save skill. Once this is done, you can see this particular section, that is core Java, has been added to the platform. So in a similar manner, while you're creating assessments, you can have multiple sections and multiple skills added to this particular test. Also, there are a couple of best practices of test creation, which are mentioned on the right-hand side. So I'll quickly add a couple of more sections which are relevant to this assessment. So I do it, again, select interview mocha. Now I select a coding question. I select one of the skill library. So again, in terms of all the types of questions, the question selection would be the same. That is automated or manual. So suppose this time I select it as manual. I select this one question. in terms of coding question, you also need to specify which programming language you want the candidates to code in. Also, you can select multiple languages if you want. As this assessment is completely related to Java test, I select only Java. I click on Save Skill. Done. Again, the coding section will be added. Next, again, I'll add one logic box question. I move on to logic box. I type in Java here. I select one question from this. See, and last but not the least, let's add one video interview question. I select video interview. So these are the static questions which are readily available onto the platform. But again, there is a feature where you can add your own personalized questions to the platform in terms of video interview questions. So I select this one question where I am asking a candidate to, simply say something about his personality in one simple sentence. So I give this a time frame of 10 minutes. I click on save. Yeah. So now the complete assessment has been created, which includes 4 sections. One is for multiple choice questions that are based out of core Java concepts. One is for coding simulation on Java programming language. One is for a logic box, and then a video interview question. So here you can see all the details of these assessments. Now, the next part would be getting this assessment calibrated or reviewed by your hiring managers or someone who is, technically comfortable on this particular skill. So to do that or to share this assessment with the concerned person, you'll move on to the share test tab. Again, it is, compulsory to have your hiring manager or someone who is the concerned person added to the platform. So if once you move to this, you click on share test button. I select the user, that is my manager, and I select which access I want to give him. Again, this completely depends on you. Now, in this case, I want my manager to edit this assessment and view the reports once the candidates are going to be done with the test. And I also want him to check the test insights. Once this is done, I click on Share Test. Now this instance of an assessment is shared with this particular person. Now what will happen is the recruiter, that is the one who has created the assessment, as well as the manager who is going to review the assessment, both of them will be working on a same assessment. So whatever activities will be happening will be reflected to both of these accounts. Okay. Now, again, once the assessment is shared with the manager, they can again come on to the questions tab. So the interface is going to be the same. They click on preview test to actually check how the assessment will look like to a candidate. So this would be the instructions page. I click on start section, and this is an view of the test platform. So on the left-hand side, you can see a question, and there are options for this multiple choice. These are the choices. So you can jump from one question to another. So this is the first section for core Java. I click on submit. This is a coding question. On the left-hand side, you can see there is a problem statement and every detailed information is mentioned. And on the right-hand side is a coding editor where they actually have to write in their code and then compile it. Next section would be a logic box question where a question would be mentioned on the left-hand side, and there is a code snippet which is provided on the right-hand side. So you can see there is already a code snippet provided. Candidate just need to fill in a couple of missing blanks, that is missing statements of this snippet. And what is expected out of it is mentioned on the left-hand side for each and every blank. Once this is done and candidate submits this assessment, so this particular logic box engine is going to evaluate these blanks and then grade this particular question type. So this was all about the candidate's view. Now, once the assessment is calibrated or reviewed by the hiring manager, so the next steps would be inviting candidates for this assessment. So to do that, you move on to the invite tab. So initially, you need to create a test link. So once I click on new link, you get to see there is a pop-up message saying which invitation type do you want. So one is email invite, where candidates receive a standardized email through the system with the test link. Next is an open link URL, where system provides you a test link and you have to share that test link with the candidates. Again, if you have a concrete or discrete set of candidates which is already defined, in that case you can use the email invite. But if the candidate pool is sparse, or randomly anyone is going to appear, in that case you need to select an open link URL. So for now I select email invite, I give it a name. So let's suppose it's testing, and I click on save. So once the test link is created, you need to enter the email addresses of the candidates you want to invite. So basically you can invite 100 candidates at a time. You just need to separate those email IDs with a comma. Again, there is an auto follow up with candidates feature. Now, again, if a candidate doesn't appear for an assessment, okay, so it is a big challenge for recruiters to always call them, follow up for the assessment, force them to appear. But with the platform, Interview Mocha platform, you don't actually have to do that. You can automate this complete process. So you can set up follow up reminders. So suppose I do it for 3 follow up reminders within an interval of 2 days. So suppose if a candidate doesn't appear for the assessment, he's going to receive a follow up email for every 2 days, you can say, for 3 times. You can also set an access time. Suppose I set it for 20 days. So once you send an invite, from that time for the next 20 days, the test link will be active. Next would be a time bound invite, where you need to specify the time zone, the start date and time of the assessment, as well as the end date and time of the assessment. The next would be the slot-wise invite, where you provide the date slots and a specific time slots where candidate can actually appear on these dates. Okay. Just below that is a proctoring functionality. Suppose if you want these assessments to be proctored, again, when it comes to remote hiring, we recommend it to have a proctored assessment. So there are two options. One is image proctoring. Next would be a video proctoring feature. Again, in this case, it is mandatory for a candidate to have a webcam attached to their system. Okay. In case of image proctoring, the system will be capturing live images of the candidates while the assessment is going on. And when it comes to video proctoring, a complete audio and a video recording of a candidate would be captured for each and every section onto the assessment. Again, that is up to you what you prefer. Suppose I do it image proctoring. Last part would be adding email addresses of the relevant stakeholders. So suppose if you want your hiring managers or someone else from your team to be notified about this candidate's assessment, you can enter those email addresses here. Once this is done, you can just click on send invitations and the invites will be sent out to the candidates. Now this was one part of inviting candidates. Next would be an open link URL, where you just give it a name. So suppose I do it pilot this time, I save. So in case of open link URL, you just need to specify the start date and end date of the assessment. You need to select the proctoring options if you want this assessment to be proctored or no. And again, it is same with this field. You need to enter the email addresses of relevant stakeholders. Once this is done, you copy the test link and then share it with the candidates. So this was all about the invitation module. And once the invites are sent and candidates actually go ahead and appear for these assessments. So once the assessment is done, within next 30 seconds to 1 minute, the test report is being generated. So to actually go ahead and check those reports, you need to move on to the reports tab. So you get to see all the candidate reports here. So right now there are no reports because we have just created this assessment. I'll quickly jump on to the next assessment. So here on this window, you can see These are the candidate entries who have already appeared for the assessment. Now let's pull up one report for, let's say, Sam. So I click on this particular report. So here you can actually check Sam's report. So on the left-hand side, you can see all the generic details, that is basic details of the candidate: name, his email address, the date and time when he appeared, the name of the test, and all this. The interesting part is the window violation count. Here you can say if this candidate has actually moved out of the test platform while the assessment was going on or no. And same goes with the time violation. Okay. Time violation is something you get a recorded time. So suppose if a candidate moves out of the test platform, so for how many seconds or minutes he was out of the test platform, that time is recorded and will be available here. And on the right hand side, you can see there is a skill meter for this particular candidate. You can see this part Sam falls under the proficient category, which is again ranges from 76 to 100%. If I go down, I get to see the detailed section score analysis. So for each and every section onto this assessment, you get to see the proficiency level of the candidate. If I move down, again, I get to see all the detailed analysis of each and every section, like the number of questions appeared, the number of questions which were correct or wrong, and all that. So if I drag it down, I also get to track the candidate feedbacks for this particular instance of an assessment. Again, so this is an overall report of an assessment. But again, if you need to go ahead and check the questions which were appeared by Sam, you need to move on to the questions tab. So you get to see each and every question which is being appeared by the candidate. You get to see the question, you get to see the result, was it correct or wrong? You get to see the score, the difficulty level, and time taken to answer this question. Also, you get to see the candidate's response. And on the left-hand side, you can see there is a complete status of this particular single question, that is the window violation count, the time violation count. So if I drag down, I get to see each and every question details. Now, as I move down and come to the coding part of this assessment, I get to see the question onto the test. Also, I get to see the candidate's code written by the candidate. Okay. You also get to track down the number of compilations which were done on this particular code. And just below that, for each and every test case which has been evaluated on this candidate's code, you get to see the results. That is, what was the input, what was the expected output, and what is the actual output of the candidate and the result. Also, you get to see the execution memory of this particular code, and then the execution time for each and every test case. Again, to go into more details of this, we also have a functionality of a code replay, where you actually get to see a complete overview or a video snippet of the candidate screen. So here you get to see what was the thought process of the candidate, how he tried to write the code, the style of writing his code, and all that. And here you can see there is a purple mark which states the instance of compilation. So on this, you get to see the result of a compilation on the right hand side. So this was all about the coding question. Next part of the candidate report would be the proctoring details. So let's move on to the proctoring details. So in terms of video proctoring, these are the videos captured. You can see. So this is the base image of the candidate captured before the start of the assessment. Now suppose if I want to check the video for the second section, I just click on it and I play it. So you actually get to see the complete video, what he was trying to do, and all that. So for each and every section onto the assessment, you get these videos. So this was about the video proctoring. Again, you get to see the time violation count and window violation count on this page as well. Now let's move on to the image proctoring functionality. So again, it would be same. The base profile image would be captured. And here on the screen, you can see there is only one valid image of this particular candidate where it says the face is detected. But for rest of the images, you can see there is some sort of obstacle, or the candidate tried to, actually put his finger down on the webcam. And these images which are captured in which the face is not detected are stated as violated images. So these are the level of analytics which will be available. Also, if there are multiple faces detected onto these images, that will also be mentioned. So again, this was all about the candidate report. That is, I'll again reiterate the summary part, the detailed questions tab, where you get to see each and every question, the code replay for coding questions and all that. And the last would be the proctoring details. Now let's move on to the dashboard part. So this was all about, the test creation, invitation reports and all that. But again, when it comes to managers, the recruitment managers, they get to see a complete overview of what is happening in their own account. So if they move on to the dashboard part, I get to see all the analytics. That is the number of tests which are being created in my account, the number of invitations. You actually get down to track the number of candidates who have appeared and all these analytics. Also, you can have this data, streamlined according to the timelines. So suppose if I do it for 30 days, the data will appear here. So this is really very useful for the managers to present into their meetings and all that. Now, if they want to track down the performances of their recruiters, they just need to move down to the analytics tab, where they get to see the complete performance of their recruitment team, like how the recruiters are performing, if they are inviting candidates or no, what is the average score of a pool of candidate and all that. Same it goes with the test performance, the candidate feedbacks, and the invited candidates. So the complete analytics part would be on this tab. So this is how, actually when it comes to remote hiring, recruiters and hiring managers can collaborate with each other and efficiently use the platform. Again, I am not saying that, this is only what it is about the platform. Apart from this, there are again more features onto the platform. So if you need to have a detailed demo of the platform, you can just raise your hands down there on the Zoom window, so that someone from my team will reach out to you, and then we'll be happy to schedule a 30 minutes demo where we can have an interaction, or we can have a detailed demo of the platform. Now let's move on to the question and no, sorry, I guess the last part would be the new features. So recently we have launched new features onto our platform. So the first one is Mocha English Pro. That is an AI enabled English proficiency test to track down the business English skills of your current employees, or you can say you can also implement this process into your recruitment phase. Okay, so basically these tests will include of 4 sections. You can evaluate listening, reading skills, that is language understanding, vocabulary, grammar. You can evaluate writing skills, that I mean there would be a letter writing session into it. And last would be a speaking part, where a video interview question will be available. But all these 4 sections will be evaluated automatically by the system, or I can say the AI enabled English proficiency test engine. And once it is evaluated, you get to see the detailed report, like uh, how proficient the candidate stands in terms of his business English. Next is the Mocha mobile app. So recently we have launched an Android application of our platform, and we are in a process of launching a similar app onto for the iPhone users. Okay, so now recruiters can actually have the Mocha platform into their pockets. They can actually, log in through their phones, check the reports, invite candidates from their phones, or they can also share the candidate reports with their managers or the relevant stakeholders through the phone itself. So this is an valuable addition to our product. Now let's move on to the live Q&A session. So before we start with this, if you have any sort of doubts or if you're expecting a detailed demo of the platform, you can actually move on to www.interviewmocha.com/scheduler demo, so that someone from my team will reach out to you and schedule a 30-minute demo. Or else, if you are having any sort of unique use case, or you are not aware how to implement this particular platform onto your recruitment process, in that case, our customer success team will be happy to actually listen down to your queries, your problems, and then provide you a solution, like how to efficiently use this platform into your recruitment process. That's it. So Neha, we can start with the question and answers now.
Yeah. Thanks, Sagar. That was a very good demo. So people, we are open to any questions that you might have. We already have some few questions registered with us. Uh, I'll be going through those questions one by one. Meanwhile, if you have any more questions, feel free to add those. So Sagar, Andrew has the question: is the test environment secure?
Okay, so yes, the test environment is pretty much secure. When it comes to security, we are GDPR compliant platform. So I would say that the test platform is completely secured. And when it comes to cheating prevention techniques, as we have seen in our demo, there are a couple of cheating prevention techniques we have, that is window lock feature and the remote proctoring features.
Right. Uh, Paul wonders if no, who determines whether question is easy, medium, or hard.
Okay, so this is actually a good question. So as I said at the start of this session, that we have 2000 plus ready skills available onto the platform. So how 2000? I'll just give you a quick overview on that. So we have like 400 plus ready SMEs who are working with us. So these questions are created by them, and as they are subject matter experts, they decide what is the difficulty level of each and every question. But this is an again an human aspect to determine the difficulty level of the question. But again, we have a automated feature onto our platform, where after every 100 attempts on a particular question, we track down the difficulty index of a question. And so suppose if the difficulty level is high, we state that this particular question falls under a easy category. If it is a medium, we can state that it is under a medium category, and so on.
All right. And how is the question selection mechanism work? Like, do hiring managers have access to this?
Yes, so hiring managers would be having access to select the questions. Again, that depends on the account setup. So as I said, we have a role-based access control mechanism onto our platform. Now, again, that depends on the admin. So suppose if I give an hiring manager an access to edit the assessment, they can actually go down, log into their accounts, select an assessment, check the complete structure. If they want to edit some questions, they can do that, change the selection of the assessment, and create it once again. So that completely depends, and this is completely flexible.
Yeah. And in addition to that, I think we can allow customers to add their own questions as well, right?
Right. So they can actually add all sort of questions, that is ranging from general category to coding to logic box, video interview, and SQL questions.
Okay. Next question is: are soft skills included in the assessments? So, soft skills like customer service.
Again, so this would be an a brief question, but again that depends. So suppose if I am hiring for a technical role, and if it is a must to have skill, that is, so suppose if I want a candidate as a Java developer, but I also want that particular candidate to be proficient in his communication skills, in that case what I can do is I can include a 20% of my assessment weightage on those soft skills. But again, that depends. If I don't want that, and if that is not the part of my must to have skills, I can opt out on that. So that depends.
Okay. All right. And Ursula has the question that, how do we know which are the top candidates?
Okay, so I'll just quickly again move on to my browser screen so that I can quickly show.
Sure.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, Sagar.
Yeah. So suppose if I move down to the reports tab, okay. So here you can see on the right hand side, there is an option where I can actually filter out the candidates. So suppose if I select the category and I only want the candidates who are under proficient category, or you can say who have scored above 76%, I can select this and I can click on apply. So only those candidates will be able to, you can actually see the reports. Also, you can download this complete report onto an Excel format.
All right.
And there is one more good feature onto the platform. So suppose you can see there is a column for candidate status. So suppose if there are like too many reports on this window, and recruiters need to track down like how many candidates were selected for the interview process, how many were kept on hold, and how many were rejected, they can come down to this page. They can select the drop down. So suppose I do it for proficient level candidates as selected for interview. Okay. And I again filter on candidates status. I select rejected. So now I want to check how many candidates were rejected on this assessment, and I click on apply. So as I cannot see any sort of data here because I guess there is no one rejected on this assessment. So again, if I do it for selected candidates, I get to see only those candidates who are selected.
Okay. So couple of questions on video interviews. So where are the video interviews stored? Like, can we share this with the customers? So customers where can they view it?
Okay, so those video interviews will be available onto the candidate report. So suppose if you check down any report and if there is a video interview question, you get to see the link in this tab only. That is the questions tab.
Okay. All right. Another question from Tristan. So, they want to ask if video interviewing technology can be used alongside other assessments that they use, like psychometrics. Would this be possible?
Yes, so as I said, these assessments when are created are completely flexible. So you can, tweak these assessments, add in more sections or reduce some sections if you don't want. So again, the answer to your question would be yes. So you can add in your own video interview questions to your assessments.
All right. And if somebody wants to create their own test questions
Mhm.
with their own scenarios for the candidates, uh, after that, can Intermocha grade those assessments?
In terms of coding questions, so when it comes to coding questions, so currently the grading of what do you say video interview questions is done manually. So recruiters or hiring managers actually have to go down to the candidate report, check the video response of a candidate and grade the questions accordingly. But again, we have a feature onto our roadmap where we are going to automate this process. So whatever video response is recorded for communication skills, for his speaking skills and everything, we are going to track down all those activities automatically. That is, will be, I guess, using some NLP algorithms to do that.
Okay. Another question we have is if you can, show the video interview question functionality and how the report appears to the customer.
Yep, I can do that.
Sure.
So let's quickly move on to, let's say, the test tab. So what I do is I'll quickly create one test which only includes video interview. So I type in video, I create. I click on add skill. Again, the same process. I select one of the question. click on invite. I create a link. I invite myself, copy the link. Now let's appear for this assessment. So this is the start page where I actually need to capture my image. That is the base image. I do it and I proceed to the assessment. So this is the instructions tab. I start with the test. So on the left hand side, you can see there is a question and there is a video screen where you can actually record it. So for the first instance, we allow a practice video question where candidate can practice or get familiar with how the test platform works. Suppose I do it, I click on start recording and I start introducing myself. I suppose I speak something about myself. So a complete overview of my personality and all that. And once this is done, so suppose I speak for, you can say 60 seconds or 7 seconds. Once this is done, I stop the recording. So as this was a trial attempt, you can actually check. Start introducing myself. I suppose I speak something about myself. So I can actually play my own video to check if I am comfortable answering my question or no. And once I'm comfortable, I move on to the actual question. I select I'm ready, and this is the question. I start recording it. So I'll just say that I hope this was a great session and it was helpful for you all. And I again click on stop it. I can play it again if I want. So I just say that I hope, and I click on submit. Once I submit this, so the assessment is done now. Now let's wait for report to populate.
Sagar, your voice is again low. Can you speak a little bit
Yeah,
louder?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. So I click on view report. I move down to the questions tab. So I actually get to see the video response of a candidate here. So I can play it. I just say that I hope this was a great session and it was helpful for you. Okay. Once this is done, I can grade this particular question from here. Suppose I want to give myself 5 on 5. I do it. I type a reason for it and I save it. And it's done. So the score is updated. If you move on to the summary tab, you can see I've scored 100%.
Okay, great. Great, Sagar. That was good. Uh, so, Sagar, can you explain the logic box functionality again?
Yeah, sure. So let's consider the same assessment which we created while the demo. I guess it was this. I'll just quickly preview it. So what happens in terms of Logicbox? As I said, that Logicbox is a pseudo coding platform where candidate does not have to actually write the code from scratch. So a code snippet will be provided, and there would be a couple of blanks missing, or you can say a couple of logical statements into that code snippet will be missing. The candidate just need to fill in those code snippets. Okay. And based on those candidate responses, what Logicbox engine will do is Logicbox engine will actually track down the response of a candidate and check if it is going to match the actual answer set or no. And if it is a great match, then the system will give points for each and every blank. So in this case, how the grading will happen is, so suppose if I write the blank one as correct, and if I miss on blank two, so I don't get a 0 point. I actually get a partial score for my correct answer, that is my correct response or a correct code snippet, and I get 0 points for which I have done it wrong. So here you can actually check their capabilities of logical thinking, how this particular candidate is good at logic and all that. I hope I was able to answer this question here.
Yes, Sagar. So one question on the mobile app. So can test invites be sent through mobile app?
Right. So yes, the test invites, the share test functionality, the report, like how to view the reports and share the reports, everything will be available through the mobile platform.
Okay. And one more question from Daniel. Is the test score revealed to the candidates during the test?
Mm, during the test, so there are two aspects again. So if the candidate is appearing for the assessment and you want to, notify the candidate for how many points this particular question is, in that case, yes, you can show the candidates what is the question score. And if you're asking me about the completion score of the assessment, in that case, we also have an option where you send out a notification to a candidate about his or her assessment scores. So again, that depends.
All right. And Nora wants to have a separate demonstration for her team. So can we do that?
Of course, Neha, anytime. So the customer success team can anytime, schedule these demos and would be really happy to help our clients. So that's not an issue. We can anytime have these demonstration sessions.
Okay. All right. One more question. So when a new test link is created,
Hmm.
uh, that link, can the URL be changed afterwards?
No. So what happens is, so suppose if I create a link, that particular test link which is going to be created will be only for that particular instance. So suppose if you want to change it, I can again say that there is no reason to do that. But again, if you want a new link, you can again go ahead, create a new test link, and then invite candidates on that.
All right. Okay. So I have taken almost all questions. So I think that's it because we're also running out of time.
So one more thing, Neha. So suppose if there are any more questions and if you don't have much time to answer them, what I'll do is I'll personally respond to those questions through an email to all of them. So that's not an issue.
All right. Not
So
a problem.
so you guys should expect these responses by end of this week. I'll be happy to do that.
That would be great, Sagar.
Yep.
Okay. So I would like to thank once again all of you for attending today's webinar. So the recording will be shared with everyone, and we look forward to having you all again at a webinar for the next month. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neha. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sagar.